Who are the seven princes of hell? Since ancient times, there have been many attempts to classify demons, mostly by Christian scholars. This is why you will find variations when it comes to the names of the seven princes of hell. It was the German theologian, priest, and witch hunter Peter Binsfeld who popularized the idea of the seven princes of hell and paired them with the seven deadly sins in his 1589 publication, Treatise on Confessions by Evildoers and Witches. According to Binsfeld, the seven princes of hell were Mammon, Lucifer, Asmodeus, Beelzebub, Leviathan, Satan, and Belphegor. Many of these demons of the Bible are based on foreign gods from other mythologies. Some of these demons were once beautiful angels who took Lucifer's side and rebelled against God, creating a war in heaven. When God cast them out of heaven, they turned into hideous creatures. With time, they grew in power and held dominion over all of hell. Here are the seven princes of hell and the deadly sins they represent. 1. Lucifer, the demon of pride. Also called the morning star, light bringer, and the prince of darkness, Lucifer is the Latin word that corresponds to the Greek word phosphorus. In Greek mythology, Phosphorus, whose name meant light bringer, was associated with the planet Venus at dawn. According to Christian tradition, Lucifer was once an archangel, a servant of God. The prophet Ezekiel describes him as being full of wisdom and perfect in beauty, the anointed cherub who was the highest angel in God's kingdom. But Lucifer became proud of his beauty and intelligence, and he began to see himself as God's equal. He desired the honor and glory that God commanded. As one who stood closest to God's throne, he began to covet God's place, to be even more powerful than God. This pride and arrogance led him to rebel against his Creator. Because of his superior intellect, he could easily deceive the other angels and recruit them to his cause. Lucifer began to wage war in heaven to take control of this godly realm. But God was more powerful, and Lucifer was ultimately defeated by the archangel Michael. He was cast down to hell, where he became the ruler of his own dominion. He undergoes a full transformation as the devil, forever plotting against God and humanity. Lucifer is a charismatic figure, capable of seducing even the most devout souls. He embodies pride and temptation, luring mortals into sin with promises of power and pleasure. His fall from grace is a cautionary tale of the perils of arrogance, disrespect, and the consequences of defying a higher power. 2. Beelzebub, the demon of gluttony. The people of Ekron, an ancient Canaanite and Philistine city, worshipped a god named Beelzebub, or Zebul. Baal is a title meaning Lord in the Semitic languages of the region, while Zebub means flies. Strictly translated, Baalzebub means Lord of the Flies. This could be referring to a possible cult of flies which existed as part of the Philistine worship. In this understanding, Beelzebub, sometimes called Beelzebub, held power over these swarming pests and could drive them out of the land. But it may also have referred to his ability to fly. In Christian tradition, however, Beelzebub was once a prince of the seraphim, an angel just below Lucifer. After his disobedience of God, he too was cast out of heaven and became one of the fallen angels. Beelzebub is often depicted as a grotesque figure with a bloated body and a swarm of flies buzzing around him. Sometimes he's depicted as one massive fly. He is a master of deception, using his powers of persuasion to lead mortals astray and manipulate them for his own purposes. As a Christian demon, Beelzebub embodies gluttony and deceit. He is said to be second in command to Satan himself, wielding immense power and influence in the underworld. Beelzebub represents the dark side of gluttony, the insatiable hunger that consumes us and leads us down a path of destruction. His followers are consumed by their own cravings and desires, often at the expense of their well-being and those around them. Beelzebub is a warning against the dangers of excess and the importance of self-control and moderation. 3. Satan, the demon of wrath. Satan, the adversary, is the most well-known of the demons. He is the ruler of the underworld, commanding legions of demons and tempting mortals with his seductive whispers. In many religious traditions, Satan is depicted as a malevolent figure who embodies evil and chaos. He is a master of manipulation, capable of twisting the truth to suit his purposes. He also has the ability to shapeshift, often appearing in an appealing light to those he wants to deceive. The earliest known suggested depiction of Satan comes from a 6th century mosaic in Italy, showing the devil as a blue angel. But later, those depictions changed and Satan became more fearsome. Dante describes him as having, quote, 2 mighty wings, such as befitting were so great a bird. Sails of the sea I never saw so large. No feathers had they, but as of a bat, end quote. The medieval text, the Codex Gigas, describes Satan as having red horns, a green face, red talons, sharp teeth, and 2 tongues. But because he is a shapeshifter, Lucifer can take various forms. The name Satan is sometimes used interchangeably with Lucifer. The difference is that Satan is seen as a fallen angel and the adversary of God and humanity in both Christianity and Islam, where Lucifer is based on a mythological figure whose name was later appropriated into Christianity to refer to Satan. There is no reference in the Bible that says Lucifer is Satan. 4. Mammon, the demon of greed. Quote, "No one can serve 2 masters. Either you will hate the one and love the other, or you will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and Mammon." End quote. Matthew 6:24. The word mammon was used by Jesus in the Gospel of Matthew to refer to wealth and material riches. But over the centuries, the word became personified as a demon of greed, and Mammon became one of the 7 princes of hell. This demon's insatiable hunger for wealth and power has earned him a place among the most feared and despised creatures of the underworld. Many demons mentioned in the Bible have a reference point connecting them to one of the several gods worshipped by cultures that the ancient Jews interacted with, such as the Philistines, Babylonians, and Greeks. But not Mammon. The references to Mammon occur in the Gospels of Matthew and Luke when Jesus is teaching a crowd. Matthew 6:24 is the more famous passage because it is part of the well-known Sermon on the Mount. Mammon quickly took on a negative connotation among early Christians who began to view the world they inhabited and its values as sinful, primarily the world of the Roman Empire. So when did Mammon become personified as a demon in his own right? Jesus himself contributed to this when he paralleled God and Mammon as competing masters, but this appears to only have been figurative. Over the centuries, theologians began to explain Mammon in different ways, but it was St. John Chrysostom, one of the most influential church fathers, who personified Mammon as greed. Unlike many other demons, Mammon does not have an agreed-upon form depicted in art or illustrations. Sometimes he is a small, frail little man clutching bags of money, stooped in the shoulders. Other times, he is a magnificent emperor wrapped in grand, opulent robes. Or perhaps he is an enormous, red, demonic creature. During the Middle Ages, wolves were associated with greed, so Mammon is sometimes depicted riding upon a wolf. Today, few believe in Mammon as the demon of greed and wealth. His decline may be due in large part to recent trends in the translation of the New Testament. Most popular translations today prefer the term money rather than the more obscure term mammon. The verse in Matthew now reads, quote, "You cannot serve both God and money," end quote. However, the use of mammon can still be heard in the broader culture as a pejorative term for greed, riches, and the opulence of wealth. 5. Belphegor, the demon of sloth. Belphegor is based on the Assyrian god Baal Peor, worshipped by the Moabites. As a fallen angel, Belphegor, the lord of laziness, is the embodiment of sloth and idleness. In some versions, Belphegor was once the archangel Belphegor, but when Lucifer began to recruit the angels to rebel against God, Belphegor took neither side, instead choosing to watch from the sidelines. Because Belphegor took no action, he was seen as one of the rebels and was cast out of heaven. Belphegor is sometimes called a lieutenant of hell. He is said to tempt mortals with promises of comfort and ease, leading them to apathy and stagnation. Belphegor is a figure of lethargy and decay, a demon whose influence can cause the ruin of individuals and societies. His followers are consumed by laziness and lack of motivation, often at the expense of their own well-being and those around them. But Belphegor is also associated with deceit and cunning. In some traditions, he is said to help people make discoveries and come up with inventions to make them rich, which then makes them lazy as they no longer need to work. In this way, Belphegor is associated with apathy, but he's also associated with insight and discovery. In an interesting twist, Belphegor also serves as the infernal ambassador to France. Belphegor's preferred form of sacrifice is human excrement. In the 1818 French publication Dictionnaire infernal, Jacques Collin de Plancy writes, quote, "One renders homage to him on the toilet. One offers him the ignoble residue of one's digestion." End quote. It's difficult to know what this has to do with Belphegor's position as Lord of Sloth, but it goes well with how he is typically depicted, just sitting on a toilet. 6. Asmodeus, Demon of Lust. Asmodeus was one of the top-ranking angels in heaven until he fell with Satan and the other angels who disobeyed God. Asmodeus became associated with lust and greed. Historically, Asmodeus comes from the Persian, Zoroastrian demon Isham Deva. The terrible infamy of this demon inspired the Jews and Christians to create a new demon, Asmodeus. His primary objective is to disrupt the intimate relationship of married couples. He does this by interfering with the consummation of a marriage on the wedding night or by enticing husbands and wives to be unfaithful to each other. According to Jacques Collin de Plancy, who wrote the Dictionnaire infernal in 1818, a compendium on all things diabolical, Asmodeus has 3 heads, that of a sheep, bull, and a man. He has a hooked nose, pointy ears, and teeth, the fire coming from his mouth. His torso is also that of a man, but below the waist he has the feathered legs and the feet of a rooster. Along with his unusual appearance, Asmodeus rides a lion with the wings and neck of a dragon. The Archbishop of Paris at the time approved the drawing, so this became the widely accepted version of what Asmodeus the demon looked like. Where de Plancy received his inspiration from is not known. In later years, Asmodeus began to be depicted by writers and artists in a less intense way. His behavior and appearance underwent some changes, making him something of a good-natured, mischievous instigator. He is also depicted as a demon of gambling as well as of lust. In these later versions, Asmodeus's human face is pleasant to look at, and he is well dressed, hiding his feathered leg and dragon's tail. 7. Leviathan, the Demon of Envy. Leviathan is a massive sea creature capable of causing storms and wreaking havoc on ships and sailors. He is a giant sea monster, sometimes identified as a creation of God and at other times a beast of Satan. Leviathan is a symbol of a challenge to God and must be slain by God for the world to be restored to its natural balance. He is often depicted as a dragon or sea monster with scales as hard as iron and the ability to breathe fire. He sometimes represents Satan. In Jewish folklore, Leviathan symbolizes chaos and destruction, a creature whose very existence threatens the universe's stability. Leviathan represents the dark side of envy, the destructive force that arises when we covet what others have and seek to destroy them out of jealousy. His followers are consumed by envy and often driven to extreme measures to obtain what they desire. And so, we come to the end of the list of the 7 princes of hell as outlined by Peter Binsfield, each personifying one of the 7 cardinal sins. Which one is the most fearsome? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to our channel. It helps us to continue making more videos like this. Thanks for watching.